So you want to know more about poverty in Ukraine? Well, did you know that absolute poverty in Ukraine is at almost 50% right now? Does that shock you? It certainly should shock you, just like it shocks me. You're watching this video, so you must be the compassionate sort of person, or maybe you're just very curious about Ukraine and you want to know why there's poverty there at all. Well, I want to answer some of those questions about poverty in Ukraine. And then I want to share a few real, true stories of Ukrainians, like 41-year-old Oleg, who's been the victim of human trafficking for almost 6 years, or this family of 5 who's been struggling to survive in one of the poorest villages imaginable. The poverty and the need, just like each personal story, is true and real. Hello, my name is Faith Woods, and here at Mission Partners, we strive to rescue people from physical, emotional, and spiritual poverty in Ukraine. And we want to help people who connect with us, people like you, to be encouraged, to be motivated for good, and to find new purpose in their relationship with God. If you like our videos, you can just hit the subscribe button below and you can enjoy more content from us. You know, I always find it interesting that people don't really think about poverty when they're thinking about the countries of Eastern Europe. Much more often when we think about, deep poverty issues, we're thinking about Central America or the Caribbean or Africa even. And you know what? It's true. There are a lot of poverty issues around the world. But, the truth is that the countries of Eastern Europe have some deep systemic problems, and Ukraine is actually one of the most problematic. I always tell people to think about, the added challenge of living in a cold climate and how much that can dramatically add to someone's experience with poverty. Because now not only do you have to find a way to eat and have shelter, but you have to keep warm. And with the current worldwide problem, I can't name it right now because of the restrictions of this platform, but you all know what I'm talking about. These problems, poverty issues, have become much more severe and definitely more widespread. In 2020, poverty rates in Ukraine rose to almost 50%. To compare, poverty rates in Canada are usually reported at about 12%. So for those of you who are uncertain what the term absolute poverty even means, it just means total, complete, I can't pay for or afford the essential things that I need poverty. Even considering the lesser price of goods and things that people have to pay for, people are making such a little amount of money, they still cannot afford necessary things like food or medical care, housing. So our local partners in Ukraine have recently told us that the government is actually trying to do some things to address this. One of the things is to raise the minimum wage. But they've also told us that, it's kind of a joke to everybody because no one really makes that minimum wage and no one can afford to pay it. And the pensions that are being given by the government really haven't changed at all. They're still only about $100 on average US a month. And I've also learned that the heating companies in Ukraine have recently been privatized, and these companies are now charging the residents highly inflated delivery rates that they really just can't afford to pay. And culturally, you have to understand, people, they're terrified not to pay their bills there, so they will scrape together whatever they can, even if it means that they can't afford to eat. Now, I am talking about people living in the cities. In the city, rents are really high, and people have lost their generational family homes many times through some kind of a scam or a family issue. There's quite a bit of corruption in Ukraine, and there's no real laws that protect homeowners like there are in North America, so many people just end up living on the street because they have nowhere else to go. Now, if you live in a village, then you probably don't have a job at all because there's huge unemployment rates in the villages. All the jobs are in the cities. If you live in a village, you probably heat your home with wood. They can't afford gas, and I don't think even the infrastructure is there for that kind of heating. The only thing I've seen in homes is wood stoves, and quite frankly, they scare me because they don't look safe. They're makeshift. They've been kind of plastered into the wall, and it looks like any day they're going to crumble into dust. Now, this winter has been actually especially cold in Ukraine. It's been in the minus 20 Celsius most of the time. This is a death sentence for people who can't afford heat or, God forbid, are living on the streets. So we partner with a church called Christian Hope, and they've been asked by the local administration whether or not they can help with this problem. So the church has retrofitted an old trailer and they've made it into a warming center. They simply want to keep people from freezing to death. So the head of the church there, Christian Hope, his name is Pastor Valeri, and he decided that he wanted to do an overnight shift at the warming center to help out. And a man came in about 3 o'clock in the morning. He was 56, and he was shivering. In fact, he was so cold that he couldn't even speak for 30 minutes. He just stood by the electric heater. Pastor Valeri offered him some hot tea and a sandwich. The man was poorly dressed. He had summer shoes on with holes in them and no socks. Pastor Valeri gave him a new pair of socks and a warm pair of footwear, and they talked. And at the end, the man thanked Pastor Valeri for everything and said, "You know what? This is the best meal that I've had in 2 years." You know what? It was just a sandwich and tea, nothing special, but he was grateful. So let me share with you another story. This is Oleg. He was 41. He came to the shelter a few weeks ago looking for help. He'd lost his job a few years ago, and he'd lost his home as a result and ended up living on the street. And sometime later, he was offered a job on a farm. He was so desperate, and it seemed like such a good deal because he was offered lodging and food on top of his wages. But the truth was, it was nothing more than slavery or human trafficking. For the next 6 years, he was forced to work on that farm for only 1 meal a day. There was really no salary, and they wouldn't let him leave. His documents or ID, it went missing, and there was really no way out. But finally, he managed to escape. But because he had no ID or documents, in Ukraine, that kind of spells disaster. You can't get a job or anything without those documents. And there's really no predictable protocols for replacing them like there would be here in Canada. It's not, you don't exist if you don't have those documents. So Oleg was desperate and he really needed rescue. So after coming to the warming center, the church volunteers fed him. They gave him new clothes, and they took him to the church rooming houses to stay, and they're going to help him out until he can sort out his life. Now, previously on our channel, I've introduced Anya, a young teen girl, and her family, and the ways that we've been helping them. They live in a tiny village outside of the capital. If you'd like to hear some of the previous stories about Anya and her family, you can click on the link above. Now, we're partnered with a group of caring volunteers that work with not only this family, but many others in this area. Anya's family has been rescued in almost every way possible. They've accepted Christ, they've been baptized, they now have clean running water on their property because our team helped pay for someone to dig them a well. They had no water. But you know what? Poverty runs deep in people's lives. So we were recently talking to Olga, who is one of the team members or volunteers that works with these families in these villages. And she told us that this particular family has now all become sick with food poisoning. She says that they actually don't have the proper supplies in order to keep their home clean. And what they really need to do is they need to take in sanitizers and they need to take in cleaning supplies. The fact is, this team now is spending almost half of their week in these villages, teaching them about Christ, teaching them how to look after themselves, helping them with food. They stay there from Wednesday until Saturday every single week, volunteering their own time, connecting with these families to make their lives better. So why is it that this team of people is taking all of this time to go into these villages and help these families, volunteering their own time and resources? Why is Christian Hope Church in Kiev taking from their already minimal resources to feed and keep other people warm? It's because they cannot bear to see people suffering when they know that there's something that they can do to help, however small, however minimal. I think they've really learned the power of giving. They know and they value what Christ has done for them. And all they want to do is to share that with other people. They've learned that that's the best thing that they can do for others living in poverty. These are really only a few examples of the extreme poverty that is being experienced around the country of Ukraine today. It's staggering and it's frightening, but you know what? The good news is that there's something that we can do. First, we have to be aware. Check, you've already managed that because you watched this video. But secondly, you can reach out and be a part of the solution. Someone like Anya and Oleg is just waiting right now for you to be a part of the solution for them, waiting for someone that can share hope with them and bring the food and the resources and the purpose in Christ that they so desperately need. If you would like to have more information about how Mission Partners is already helping people who are experiencing emotional, physical or spiritual poverty in Ukraine, or you would like to partner with us to help people like Oleg and Anya, just visit mpiconnect.org to donate, or subscribe to our e-newsletter right there on our website so we can help you stay informed. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We can't wait to connect with you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.